writing and the recording of the Motherland album was quite unlike any other recording experience I've ever had. I'd just come off the press and promotion cycle for the previous project I've been working on, which was called Shineback, and I found myself with a bit of free time, but it was a very unusual segment of free time in the fact that at that point I decided to move to the USA to live full time. I was getting married to an American lady called Stacey, and I found myself in a situation where all of my worldly belongings were in storage, ready to leave for America, and I had practically no access to any musical equipment whatsoever, and all I literally had was a couple of guitars and funnily enough, and this laptop. So I decided what I would do is I would make an album the old school way, which was just building up guitars and using percussion, more or less how I started out actually. And I was left with the choice of writing some new songs, or recording all of the material which I previously tried to record years and years back. And so I ended up doing a little bit of both. I think the secret for me of the album was actually in the sound of one instrument, and it was this instrument, in fact. This is a travel guitar which I bought in Denmark Street in London. But it is a guitar with a difference in the fact that it is actually tuned an octave above a regular guitar. So you get it's almost like a mandolin. Kind of sort of sound out of it, which was I thought sounded really good and really interesting. So with the laptop and a couple of guitars, that being effectively the lead instrument, I decided to have at it and try and see if I could write an album. And as I was saying, the songs were sort of half old material and half new material. And as I was recording it, it took about 12 weeks, which is an unprecedentedly short period of time for me to record an album. I'm usually notoriously slow. But as I was recording the album, I had no real idea of what the album was going to be until I hit on... funnily enough, I was in Philadelphia on one of my many sort of pre-full-time living visits, if you will, to see my then fiance, and I had the laptop and the little guitar, and I hit upon this chord sequence, and I thought, well, that's interesting. And as is usual with all of the songs I write, I tend to sort of like make a little demo first. Maybe it's only a fragment of a chord sequence or something, and record it into my little iPhone. And I did this, and it just sounded really nice. And then I thought, no, actually, what I'll do is I'll record it directly into my laptop. So I had a little microphone which was attached to the sound card of my setup, and I just recorded the chord sequence. And I thought, actually, I'll write something over that, a little melody line. And I invented this melody line off the top of my head. And it was at that moment that I realised, when I heard the two back in conjunction with one another, I thought, okay, I have a hook on which to hang the rest of the album. And that little instrumental sequence with the melody eventually became the title track of the album, which was Motherland.
dog has had its day, when the sun has finally set, when the last page has burned away, the unfinished left complete, with everything we've seen and everything we've done placed before us one last time, we are judged purely on what we leave behind.
So once I'd recorded that, I kind of had a real idea of what it was that I wanted to do, and I suddenly realised what it was that I wanted to do was write a thank you letter to the land of my birth via an album, or in the bars of an album, and that's what it became. It became songs about saying goodbye, not necessarily just to the UK, but all different songs about saying goodbye to things. It could be people, it could be memories, it could be countries, and as a result, everything sort of snapped into focus, and it became an incredibly all-consuming but really pleasurable experience to record that. And basically, I did it in between two countries. So part of that album is recorded in the US, in Philadelphia. Some of it is recorded in central London. Another part of it was recorded while I was staying with a friend of mine, a gentleman called Rob Henderson, and he was very kind enough to lend me a spare room in the last few months before I left the UK, when I had absolutely no property, no worldly belongings apart from, as I said, the guitars and a laptop. And he lent me his house, and I recorded the rest of the album in various rooms in that house. So thank you, Rob. And then I passed it on to the guys. Well, I should say David Elliott, who heads up a record label called Bad Elephant Music. And said, look, this is what I have. Do you want to release it? And he said, let me give it a listen. And he called me back later on and said, yeah, we'd love to release it, which was really nice. So again, thank you, David. And within I think it was about from nothing to about 16 weeks later, maybe a little bit longer, but not much longer, the album was out, and it was in my hands. I'm not entirely sure if I've got I do have a copy here, actually. Went from laptop to this, and it was only ever supposed to be a very stripped down affair. It was almost like a little personal document of that period of my life, and I don't think anybody, certainly none of us involved with it, both at BEM and myself, really understood exactly how successful it was going to be. I have to say that the one person I haven't thanked or mentioned during this, who did contribute to the album, was my longtime co-writer, a guy called Rob Ramsey. And Rob Ramsey's a lyricist and a harmonica player, and he appears in both guises on the album. I think he was the one that sort of, for me, capped the album, gave it a real meaning, because he developed this. There was a lovely line or spoken word bit in the Motherland title track, which really kind of summed up for me what that album was about. So the boy done good.
When the dog has had its day, when the sun has finally set, when the last page has burned away, the unfinished left complete. With everything we've seen and everything we've done placed before us one last time, we are judged purely on what we leave behind.